She thought she had won. She thought the ranch, the accounts, and my wife's jewelry were hers. But when the forensic accountant opened that safety deposit box, her smile disappeared faster than a West Texas tumbleweed in a dust storm. My name is Robert Mitchell, and I'm 67 years old. For 43 years, I ran cattle on a 2,000-acre ranch outside Abilene, Texas, alongside my wife, Margaret. We built everything from nothing. Every fence post, every head of cattle, every dollar in the bank came from our hands and our sweat. Margaret was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 18 months ago, stage 4. The doctors gave her 6 months, maybe 8, if we were lucky. We decided to fight it anyway, not because we thought we'd win, but because that's what you do when you love someone. You fight until there's nothing left to fight with. The chemotherapy ravaged her body. She lost 60 pounds. Her hair fell out in clumps, but she never lost that fire in her eyes, that stubborn German determination that made me fall in love with her back in 1979. We hired a home care nurse through an agency because I couldn't handle all the medical tasks myself. Medication schedules, IV lines, wound care. I'm a rancher, not a doctor. That's when Nicole Brennan entered our lives. She was 34 years old, blonde, always smiling. She had credentials from a nursing school in Oklahoma and 5 years of hospice experience, according to her resume. She seemed perfect, compassionate, professional. She'd sit with Margaret for hours, reading to her, helping her eat, managing her pain medication. Margaret actually seemed to like her. "Rob," Margaret told me one evening, "Nicole's been such a blessing. I don't know what we'd do without her." I agreed. I was grateful. Taking care of a dying spouse is the hardest thing you'll ever do, and Nicole took some of that burden off my shoulders. She worked 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, sometimes more. I paid her well, $28 an hour, plus bonuses. But I started noticing small things. Margaret's jewelry began disappearing. First, it was a pair of diamond earrings. Margaret thought she'd misplaced them. Then a gold bracelet vanished. Then her mother's pearl necklace. Each time, Margaret was confused but too sick to really investigate. I mentioned it to Nicole, asked if she'd seen anything. "Oh, Mr. Mitchell," she said, touching my arm, her blue eyes wide with concern. "Mrs. Mitchell has been so confused lately with all the medication. She probably moved them somewhere and forgot. I'll help you look. We never found them." Then I noticed something else. Our bank statements showed cash withdrawals I didn't make. Small amounts at first. 200 here, 300 there. Then larger sums. $1,500, 2,000. When I asked Margaret about it, she had no memory of authorizing anything. "Maybe Nicole withdrew it for groceries or supplies," Margaret suggested weakly. But Nicole always gave me receipts for any purchases, and they never matched these amounts. I went to the bank. The teller showed me the withdrawal slips. Margaret's signature was on each one, but something felt wrong. The handwriting looked similar, but not quite right. Too steady. Margaret's hands shook constantly from the medication. Her signature had become shaky, barely legible. I didn't confront Nicole. Not yet. Instead, I did something I'm not proud of, but don't regret. I installed a hidden camera in our bedroom, disguised as a smoke detector. I told myself it was to monitor Margaret's care, to make sure she was getting proper treatment when I wasn't in the room. What I discovered destroyed me. 3 days after installing the camera, I reviewed the footage. I watched Nicole enter the bedroom at 2 in the morning when I was asleep in the guest room down the hall. I watched her open Margaret's medication lockbox with a key she shouldn't have had. I watched her replace Margaret's morphine with something else, some clear liquid from a vial in her purse. I watched her inject it directly into Margaret's foreline. Margaret convulsed. Her body jerked violently. Nicole just stood there, watching, checking her pulse. Then she calmly straightened the sheets, disposed of the syringe in a sharps container she carried, and left the room. The next morning, Margaret's condition had deteriorated significantly. She couldn't speak clearly. Her breathing was labored. Nicole told me it was normal for this stage, that we should increase her pain medication, keep her comfortable. I threw up in the bathroom after she left. I couldn't go to the police. Not yet. I needed to understand what was happening. Why? So I kept watching, I kept recording. I acted normal around Nicole, though every time I saw her face, I wanted to wrap my hands around her throat. 2 days later, Margaret died. It was a Tuesday morning, October 17th. Nicole was there, of course, holding Margaret's hand, crying. She seemed genuinely devastated. She hugged me, told me how sorry she was, what a privilege it had been to care for such a wonderful woman. I wanted to kill her right there, but I didn't. I called the funeral home. I made arrangements. I played the grieving widower, which wasn't hard because I was grieving. I was grieving, and I was furious, and I was drowning in a rage so deep I couldn't see the surface anymore. The funeral was on Friday. Small service. Margaret didn't want a big production, just close friends and family. Nicole attended, dressed in black, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Several people commented on how devoted she'd been. What a wonderful nurse. After the service, at the house, Nicole pulled me aside. "Mr. Mitchell," she said quietly, "I know this is a difficult time, but I wanted you to know something. Mrs. Mitchell and I became very close during her final months. She told me things, personal things. She was worried about you, about what would happen after she was gone." I stared at her. "What are you talking about?" Nicole reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "She asked me to give you this. It's a letter she wrote. And there's something else." She handed me a document. I unfolded it. It was a will, dated 6 weeks before Margaret's death. In it, Margaret supposedly left the ranch, all bank accounts, all property, and all personal possessions to Nicole Brennan, in gratitude for exceptional care and companionship during my final months. I was mentioned once. To my husband Robert, I leave my wedding ring and the family Bible, knowing he has his pension and Social Security to sustain him. My hands started shaking. "This is fake." Nicole's expression shifted. The compassion vanished, replaced by something cold. "It's notarized, Mr. Mitchell. It's legal. Mrs. Mitchell was very clear about her wishes. She felt you'd be fine on your own, and she wanted to make sure I was taken care of. I gave up so much to be here for her. Get out. I'm sorry you're upset, but this is what Margaret wanted. My attorney will be in touch about the property transfer. You have 30 days to vacate the premises." She left before I could respond. Left me standing in my own living room, in my own house, holding a document that was going to steal everything Margaret and I had built. I didn't call the police. Not yet. Because I knew what Nicole didn't know. I had evidence. I had footage. But I needed more. I needed to know who she really was, and whether she'd done this before. I hired a private investigator named Frank Torres, former Houston PD detective, now running his own agency. I gave him Nicole's full name, her license number, everything I had. I told him what I'd seen on the camera, what I suspected. "Don't go to the police yet," Frank advised. "Let me dig first. If she's done this before, we need to find the pattern. One victim is a crime. Multiple victims is a serial case. And the FBI gets involved. That's when you get real resources." While Frank investigated, Nicole moved fast. She filed the will with the probate court. She changed the locks on my house. She actually changed the locks on my own house. I came back from the bank one afternoon to find the gates chained and a new deadbolt on the front door. I called her. She didn't answer. I left messages. Nothing. I ended up staying at a motel in Abilene, the Sleep Inn off Highway 83, $79 a night. I'm a millionaire, or I was, and I'm sleeping in a motel room that smells like stale cigarettes and pine sol. The lawyer I consulted, Paul Henderson, was sympathetic but not optimistic. "The will appears legitimate, Robert. It's notarized. It's signed. Unless you can prove it's fraudulent or that your wife wasn't of sound mind when she signed it, the court will likely uphold it." "She didn't sign it," I said. "Nicole forged it." "Can you prove that?" I hesitated. I had the camera footage of Nicole poisoning Margaret, but I hadn't told anyone yet. Frank had advised me to wait. "I'm working on it." "Work fast," Paul said. "Nicole's attorney is already pushing for expedited probate." That night, Frank called me. "Robert, you need to sit down for this." I was already sitting, on the edge of the motel bed, but I gripped the phone tighter. "What did you find?" Nicole Brennan isn't her real name. Her birth name is Nicole Casper. She changed it legally 8 years ago. And Robert, she's done this before. 3 times before. My stomach dropped. Tell me. First victim was 2015, Fort Worth. Elderly man, widower, cancer patient. Nicole was his home care nurse. He died suddenly, left her his house and $200,000 in cash. The man's son tried to contest the will, claimed it was fraud, but he couldn't prove it. Nicole sold the house and disappeared. Frank continued. Second victim, 2017, Lubbock. Elderly woman, dementia patient. Same pattern. Nicole was her caregiver. Woman died, left Nicole everything. This time, the family hired a lawyer, got the will thrown out on a technicality, something about witness signatures. Nicole walked away but wasn't charged with anything. Third victim? I asked. 2020, Amarillo. Retired teacher, lung cancer. Nicole was his nurse. He died. Left her his estate, about $400,000. This time, nobody contested it. The man had no family. Nicole collected everything and moved on. I felt sick. She's a serial killer. That's the working theory, Frank said. But here's the thing, Robert. Nobody's been able to prove the deaths weren't natural. Terminal patients die. That's what they do. Unless you can prove she actively killed them, it's just a suspicious pattern. I can prove it, I said. I have video of her poisoning Margaret. Silence on the other end. Then, Jesus Christ, Robert, you've been sitting on that? I needed to understand what I was dealing with. Okay, here's what we do. You take that footage to the FBI. Not the local police, the FBI. This is interstate, multiple jurisdictions. They'll want this case. But Robert, you need to do it now, before Nicole realizes you have evidence and runs. The next morning, I drove to the FBI field office in San Antonio. 3 hours down I-20 and I-10. My hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I carried a USB drive with all the camera footage, time-stamped and dated. The agent who met with me was named Diana Reeves. She was maybe 40, dark hair pulled back, no-nonsense demeanor. I told her everything. I showed her the footage. She watched in silence. When it was over, she looked at me. Mr. Mitchell, why didn't you come forward immediately? I didn't know if anyone would believe me. I needed to know if she'd done it before. That was dangerous. If she'd suspected you knew, she could have Diana stopped herself. Never mind. What's done is done. Here's what's going to happen. I'm opening a federal investigation. We'll need to exhume your wife's body for a full toxicology report. We'll need statements from you, from anyone who interacted with Nicole during your wife's care. And we're going to need you to not contact Nicole or tip her off in any way. She changed the locks on my house. Diana's expression hardened. We'll handle that. Do not, under any circumstances, confront her. Let us do our job. The next 2 weeks were agony. The FBI moved slowly, methodically. They exhumed Margaret's body. They interviewed the notary, who supposedly witnessed the will. They contacted the families of Nicole's previous victims. They subpoenaed bank records, medical records, phone records. Meanwhile, Nicole was living in my house, driving Margaret's car, wearing Margaret's jewelry. She posted photos on Facebook of the ranch, of the sunset view from our porch, of her new life in the country. The comments were sickening. Friends congratulating her, telling her she deserved it after all her hard work. I wanted to comment. I wanted to tell all of them what she really was. But Agent Reeves had been clear. Stay silent. Let the investigation proceed. Then Frank called me. Robert, I found something else. Nicole has a boyfriend. Guy named Tyler Webb. He's been in and out of prison, mostly drug charges and fraud. He was released from Huntsville 8 months ago, right before Nicole came to work for you. You think he's involved? I'd bet my license on it. The will forgery, the bank withdrawals, the stolen jewelry. Nicole's good, but she's not that good. She needs someone with technical skills. Tyler's got convictions for forgery and identity theft. Did you tell the FBI? Already done. They're looking into him now. 2 days later, Tyler Webb was arrested at a pawn shop in Abilene, trying to sell Margaret's pearl necklace. the same necklace that had disappeared from her jewelry box 6 months ago. The shop owner had gotten suspicious and called the police to verify ownership. When the police ran Tyler's ID, they found the FBI flag on his record. He was held for questioning. According to Agent Reeves, Tyler folded like a cheap lawn chair. He admitted everything: the forgery, the stolen jewelry, even the plan. Nicole would identify wealthy, terminally ill patients with no close family or vulnerable family situations. She'd ingratiate herself, gain their trust, then slowly poison them while creating a fake will. Tyler would handle the technical aspects: the forgery, the document creation, the notary scam. They'd split the proceeds. 4 victims, 4 estates, combined total of over $1.2 million. Margaret would have been the 5th. The toxicology report came back. Margaret's body contained lethal levels of potassium chloride, consistent with the substance Nicole had injected. The medical examiner stated it would have caused cardiac arrest in a patient with Margaret's compromised health. It would have looked like natural causes. Nicole was arrested on November 8th at my ranch. The FBI arrived at dawn with a warrant. She tried to run out the back door and made it about 20 yards before an agent tackled her in the mud. I wasn't there to see it. Agent Reeves thought it was better if I stayed away, but Frank was there, taking photos, documenting everything. He sent them to my phone. Nicole looked different in the photos. No more warm smile, no more compassionate eyes, just rage and fear and the face of someone who'd finally been caught. Tyler Webb was charged as an accomplice. They found the fake notary seal in his apartment, along with samples of forged signatures from all 4 previous victims. He'd practiced Margaret's signature dozens of times, perfecting the shakiness, the pressure points. The trial happened fast. Federal prosecutors didn't mess around with serial offenses. Nicole's attorney tried to argue that the deaths were natural, that the will was legitimate, that this was all a misunderstanding. Then they played the video footage. In court, in front of the jury, Nicole injecting poison into my wife's IV line. Nicole standing there, watching my wife convulse and die. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts: 4 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of fraud, multiple counts of forgery and theft. Nicole Casper, also known as Nicole Brennan, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Tyler Webb got 25 years. The judge ordered all assets seized from Nicole to be returned to the rightful estates. I got my ranch back. I got Margaret's jewelry back. I got the money back, minus what she'd already spent. But I didn't get Margaret back. I stood in our bedroom the day I moved back into the house. Everything looked the same. Same bed, same curtains, same photos on the dresser. But it wasn't the same. It would never be the same. I found Margaret's real will in her desk drawer, dated 5 years earlier, leaving everything to me. Simple, clear. Exactly what you'd expect from a woman who'd spent her whole life partnered with one man. Agent Reeves stopped by a week after the sentencing. She sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Margaret and I had eaten breakfast for 40 years. "How are you holding up?" she asked. I poured her coffee. "I'm here. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. If you'd confronted Nicole, if you'd tipped her off, she might have disappeared. We might never have caught her. 4 families got closure because of you." I nodded. I knew she was right. But it didn't make it easier. "There's something else," Diana said. "The DA from Lubbock contacted us. The second victim, the woman with dementia whose family got the will thrown out, they want to reopen the case. With Tyler's testimony and the pattern evidence, they think they can prove Nicole killed her too. Could be a 5th murder charge." "Good," I said. And I meant it. After Diana left, I walked out to the barn. The cattle were there, same as always. Animals don't care about human drama. They just want food and water and a safe place to stand. I thought about calling Margaret's sister, letting her know it was over. But what would I say? "Your sister was murdered by her nurse, but don't worry, the murderer's in prison now, so everything's fine?" Nothing was fine. I ended up donating $50,000 to the hospice organization where Nicole had claimed to have experience. They'd never heard of her, of course. the credentials were fake. But they did real work, helping real patients, and I wanted something good to come from this nightmare. I also set up a foundation in Margaret's name to help families of terminal patients afford proper care, professional care, vetted care, so maybe nobody else would hire a monster thinking they were hiring an angel. That night, I sat on the porch, the same porch where Margaret and I used to watch the sunset together. The sky was orange and pink and purple, the kind of Texas sky that makes you understand why people live here despite the heat and the dust and the isolation. I held Margaret's wedding ring in my hand, the one thing Nicole's fake will said I could keep, as if I needed her permission to hold on to my own memories. I thought about Nicole, sitting in a cell somewhere, probably still believing she was the victim. People like her always do. They believe they're entitled to whatever they can take, and anyone who stops them is the villain. But she was wrong. Margaret's death wasn't natural. It wasn't peaceful. It was murder. And murder always leaves evidence, if you're willing to look for it. I placed Margaret's ring on the porch railing, next to my own. 2 gold bands, still catching the last light of the day. Still together, even if we weren't. Tomorrow, I'd pick up the pieces. I'd run the ranch. I'd keep living, because that's what Margaret would have wanted. She'd fought to live for 18 months after her diagnosis. She'd fought with everything she had. I owed it to her to do the same. But tonight, I just sat there, watching the sun go down, remembering the woman I loved and the life we'd built together. The life that someone tried to steal. She thought she'd won. But in the end, justice doesn't belong to the quickest, or the cleverest, or the most ruthless. It belongs to those who refuse to give up. And I've never been much of a quitter.